Howdy Marketer. Next up is Whistic.
Good luck, boys. Wade is the VP of Technology Services at Instructure. And his biggest concern right now is vendor security risk. Because he knows that for big data breaches for companies, 60% of them are related to third-party vendors. Wade's current approach to managing vendor security is to use really ugly spreadsheets like this. The problem is he has 300 vendors, and he can't manage 300 vendors effectively with ugly spreadsheets like this. Luckily for Wade, he found Whistic. Whistic is the best platform for managing vendor security risk. Now, when Wade decides that he wants to bring on a new CRM platform, and he decides to go with Salesforce, he simply logs in, sends an assessment request to his contact Susan at Salesforce, and he's on his way. Now, Susan is a sales engineer at Salesforce, and her job is to complete assessments from her customers. With Whistic, she no longer has to complete assessments in those ugly spreadsheets. She simply logs in and she has a beautiful UI to begin answering questions about her data center security, encryption, her human resources. And not only that, but Whistic is a collaborative platform, which means that she can bring in all of her teammates to begin answering questions as well. She can make assignments, and she can set due dates that she can follow up on. As she goes through and answers questions, she can also include comments to give more color to her answers. And she can also upload supporting documents, things like PCI audits and SOC 2 audits. When she's done, she simply submits, and the results go back to Wade. Now again, instead of looking at a spreadsheet, he gets this beautiful report. And what Whistic does for Wade is make it easy to interpret the results. So we give him a risk score where we quantify the risk of sharing data with Salesforce. We also allow him to go and look at the top 5 control areas that he's selected, the things that are most important to him, and we also break down scores for them. He can go down and he can scroll through specific questions and see the results that were provided. So not only can Wade manage Salesforce on this platform, he can now manage all of his vendors in one location. And it's not just risk reports, but he can go in and see who the service provider is, what the product they're purchasing is. He can see contact information and contract information. He can also sort that list by risk score to see who's most risky and who he needs to keep an eye on. He can tell which vendors are critical to his business, and he can also filter to see which business units are using the vendor so that he knows exactly who to contact within his organization. When we talk to CISOs, they're willing to pay about $500 per vendor per year. So when we look at just these 7 industries, it's over $3 billion a year in annual recurring revenue. These are the companies that Whistic's been working with to develop and launch our platform, and they're really excited about what we're doing. Whistic is currently raising a seed round. If you're interested, please reach out to us at investors@whistic.com or come talk to us at the booth later. And last of all, Jason, thank you so much for having us at Launch Festival and allowing us to launch here.
Congratulations, Whistic. Big round of applause. Yeah, sure. Okay, some Q&A. Great presentation.
So is this one of those awesome companies that has to do with like insurance requirement checkboxes?
It is a business solution for a security piece of the business. It's very closely related to compliance, but what we're not doing is trying to build the solution for everybody and for everything. We're focused very narrowly on this step in the procurement process related to risk assessments.
Cool. I don't know Suzanne from Salesforce, does that happen always post-sale, or it can be part of the pre-sale process as well for vendors, basically? How do you see that?
Yeah. The way it happens, and And we're not inventing a market. This is happening today in spreadsheets. And the way it happens is that in the sales process, when a decision is made that we're interested, that's typically when the security team steps in or the risk management team steps in. And before the contracts are signed, it becomes part of that legal process.
If you can help startups sell to big companies, that would be awesome.
That's a huge part of it,
Let's
yeah.
talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your calendar's getting booked. Okay, Christian.
Do you have any clients as of yet, paid or not paid?
So we are part of the 1.0 group, so we are pre-revenue. But the companies that we listed here, there were 9 or 10 of them on the slide. We have 11 companies on the platform right now, from very large to these vendors.
So what is it that makes this a vitamin versus a painkiller, meaning something that's nice to have versus a must-have? What's the pain point you're solving, and why are companies willing to pay for it?
Yeah, so right now, doing this with spreadsheets, it's really a fixed cost problem because you have to hire enough people. One person can only do so many assessments. So when we go talk to companies, they say, currently we're assessing 50 of our vendors, but I need to be assessing 300, 500, or 1,000 of my vendors, and I can't do it without doubling my costs or ramping up, by ramping up my team. So really, when you look at the environment, you look at the Target hack, where it was a vendor that their HVAC vendor, they were not expecting a hack to come through that vendor. That's the risk that everybody's at right now because they don't have the scale to go after all of their vendors.
So how do you solve the fix? I mean, is it the customer who's doing the security profile for you?
Yeah, so
So what would the HVAC vendor have responded at Target if he were in the risk profile?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the HVAC vendor, the issue there was that an employee clicked on a phishing email. And if Target had gone to the HVAC vendor and simply looked at their training policies around security, they could have pushed them to do more stringent training. Next step for our product is actually helping companies like Target understand which systems that HVAC vendor has access to. So not just the assessment, but mapping out the whole chain. So
Okay.
there's a lot of power there.
Let's hear it for Whistic.